Hello, and welcome to our eBit series, which is just a small tidbit of e-learning, 1 to 5 slides, just to give you the sizzle, but not the steak, of the topic in which you're looking for. So today's topic is culture and expectations, what we call necessary conversations. Many times when we work with organizations in our coaching and consulting business, we always have the discussion of when is the right time to have the conversations about your culture and about setting expectations. And unfortunately, many people wait until things happen until they have that conversation instead of having it when it's the most opportune time that has the best impact for when they need to confront it. So let's talk about that through this quick series. So as we speak about culture and expectations, I want to refer to the 5 W's and the H. The 5 W's and the H are who, what, where, when, why, and then how. If, as a business, you need to speak about culture and expectations, you need to have a plan on when do you speak about culture. And when we speak about culture, we talk about good culture, strong culture. Obviously, many organizations have bad culture that destroys the organization. What keeps that culture going strong is high expectations within the organization. And the best organizations have a communication plan on when they're going to speak about expectations, setting those expectations that drive the culture and keep the momentum going. When we speak about culture and expectations, we have to know who is it that we're going to speak to. And this really defines every single employee and every potential employee. And yes, even our customers and our vendors. Customers and vendors are privy to our culture and our expectations by being partners in our business, by understanding our mission statement, which is our reason for existence, and that drives our expectations with our customers as well as with our employees. But it's much more than that. In fact, that's where we get the what. What is it that we need to define? And it's many different things. It's how you manage. It's little nuances about your management philosophy. It's about expectations about advancement. We speak about self-accountability. That is part of the what. We talk about our vision, our mission, and our values, and our strategic initiatives, and how we expect every employee to embrace and understand those, and to work until those are executed at a high level. We talk about when, and this is very important on when to have these conversations, and it plays into further to how as well when we get there. But when do we have them? Well, in some cases, depending on what it is, it's before we hire people. It's obviously during the interview. It should be on day one. It should be anytime you take new staff or a new team. Sometimes you might have to do a reset, especially if you're listening to this. It might be because you need to do that reset on setting expectations and then being consistent moving forward. This is important because, as mentioned before, too many times we wait until we have to have a conversation about behavior modification, and it hurts if we didn't have the proper expectations conversation early enough. So why? Why do we have it? Well, it's to make an impact. Culture is everything in business. When you have a high performing culture, you want to keep that momentum, I call it the momentum train, going. And when you fail to have these conversations early and often enough, you will have a dip in that momentum. And this is the why. We owe it to every single employee for ultimate success and for a financial stable business. And that momentum assures that. And then we get into the how. How do we have these conversations? How do we showcase it to our potential employees, to our customers, to our vendors? How do we instill it daily? This is why that's important. So here's where we speak about communicating early. Effective leaders communicate early, often, and over. What we mean by this is before they hire, they make sure that their mission statement is prominent, especially on their website for potential employees to see. That's their reason for existence. Their values or their principle statements are on their website so employees and potential employees can see this is what you live by daily. Then they also make sure that their hiring ads have both of those in them as well. Most hiring ads usually just say, here's what we're hiring for. But if you're looking to drive culture and maintain it, your hiring ad should say, here's our mission statement, and here's our values and principles that we live daily. Then here's the job opportunity with its description, and if you think this is a match for you, please apply. You're letting that potential person know that you are culture driven. Then there are things that you can do to ensure that when you interview, you follow up. You want to test in that interview that that person knows your mission statement, your values and your principle statements, but also if they researched your organization, if they know what industry you're in, who are your potential customers, and maybe what you've done in the community, if that's showcased anywhere on your website of your community involvement. I've done this before with a little 10-question questionnaire that I have the interviewee fill out before I interview them. After a while, that message gets out that you will test for these things, especially if your current employees are referring potential employees. Day one of employment. This is where you truly need to not only mention your culture, but it's so important that you have that communication on high expectations. And we'll speak to that in a minute. But the high expectations about what you expect in your organization, why they were hired, and how you managed. That's important also when you take a new team or a team member, that you level set. You say, here are my expectations. Here's how I manage. Here are nuances. And here is what we're going to drive to, the vision that I'm giving you. When we speak about inflection points, these are things that when things occur, we don't let them sit on our plate. When someone is not adhering to that high standards, or you think it could affect your culture, when you need that behavior modification, great leaders do not let it sit. They will confront issues and get to the other side. And then finally, when accountability needs to be set. And this is to speak about self-accountability, that we have expectations that each individual employee takes self-accountability on their personal and professional development as well. We'll speak to that in a minute. But accountability peer-to-peer is the environment that we also want to create. So when we speak about new team member, this could be day one of someone being hired, or you're taking over a new team member to your team or a new team. So what is communicated? Well, here's a small list of just some of the items I recommend. I communicate my management style. I want them to know from day one how I manage. Also, my management philosophy. And I'll give you an example of this as we move on. Then finally, quirks and habits. So I have a habit of repeating myself constantly, and I let people know that. But I also let them know that they might pay attention to what I repeat because it obviously is important to me. I talk about behavior modification and how I implement it and how I manage through behavior modification. I set expectations and I set them high. Talk about what a first team environment is, where we don't talk behind each other's back, how we welcome others' opinions, even if they disagree, but how that's done professionally, and it's called a first team. We speak about accountability, and I really preach about self-accountability and then peer-to-peer accountability. And then we also speak about empowerment. For our employees to be successful, they have to be empowered, and they have to know how they're empowered. So let me give you an example. Using my quirks about repeating myself, here's a little bit, and I'll try to hit each of these. Say that I have a new person named Dave. I would say, hey, Dave, welcome to our team. One of the reasons that you were hired is because we have high expectations here at XYZ Company, and we believe that you meet those high expectations. But it's important for me on day one for us to set some expectations. So a little bit about myself and the organizations. First of all, you can see that we're a successful organization, and your success is important to me. And because of that, if I see something that hinders your success that I believe you're doing that may need correcting, I feel the need to point that out. If I see anything that hinders your success, do you want me to point that out? I will tell you that when you have this conversation on day one, I've never had someone say, no, I don't want you to point it out. But by stating this on day one, it sets the groundwork that when I do have to confront them, I can even remind them of this conversation. So my management style is very open. I like to work with rewards or consequences. That's what we call in our behavior modification. Certainly, Dave, I'd like to work on the reward side, but there's going to be consequences. Everyone has them. But quickly, Dave, how you listen to my coaching and how you correct yourself will move you back to the reward side based upon how quickly you accept it and you show and you demonstrate your correction and if you're coachable. My management style is to spend my energy with those that are coachable, and I will give you every benefit of my time if you give me your habits. Now, a couple of quirks and habits I have is one, I'm very factual. So when I might send you an email, how I write it may not be how you read it, and I'm cognizant of that. I'm working on that, but I just ask you to be aware of that when you read it. And if there's any concerns, come ask me. But also, I believe that great leaders repeat themselves constantly, and I have that habit or that quirk. However, listen to what I'm repeating because it means it's important to me. I already stated about my behavior modification. I want to work with those who are coachable and spend my energy there. I set high expectations, and you were hired because we believe you meet them. First team environment, Dave, means that I want to hear your opinions. If you disagree, I want to hear your viewpoints. I want to hear your ideas. But we do that professionally. If we're doing some planning, you're welcome to voice your opinion or your disagreement professionally. If it's behind closed doors or however we do it, that's fine. However, when we do make our decisions, we expect everyone to own them as if they made the decision, whether it took in their viewpoints or not. Because the last thing that we accept from any team member is to talk about anyone else's decision or maybe gossip, because that's not first team. And in fact, if someone comes up to you and wants to speak about somebody else and maybe spread some gossip or say, oh, I knew this decision wouldn't work, you need to refer them to that direct person and say, you need to have a first team conversation with XYZ. Let's speak about accountability, Dave. First of all, if you really want to grow here, I really push for self-accountability. In other words, accountability for your results, but also for your development. I want to invest in people and help them develop, but I need to see who will succeed in development. And the best way to see that is to see how serious you are about self-development. So understand our mission, our vision, and our values, our strategic initiatives, and start defining what skills and knowledge that you can learn that will help take us to that next level and execute those. And when it's time for me to invest in people or promote, you make that choice easy. Finally, I believe in empowering you. That's based on our mission statement, our values, and our principle statements, and based on your role as well. So let's talk about empowerment for your role, what you're empowered to do, and then what your limits are. Now, if you're ever unsure, please ask, because we want you to feel empowered that you could come execute your job daily. Do you have any questions? Here we state that great leaders pay it forward. So through this brief training, that's why we call it an e-bit, so it's tidbits of e-learning. We have much longer courses that are webinars are 1 hour. We have 7-hour all-day courses, whether it's e-learning, virtual, live, or we come out to the client site to do them. We can customize it to you, but we give you just a little sample to help educate and open your mind. So remember, as you learn, that great leaders pay it forward. So please pay it forward and teach others, and that's how we expand. That's also how you keep the momentum going. We want to thank you for attending. If you'd like to email, our email is mark@markvillarreal.com. If you have questions about additional courses, you can send that to contact@markvillarreal.com. My website is markvillarreal.com. My phone number is listed there. And please subscribe to our YouTube, which this will be posted. But as we create new tidbits or other e-learnings or educational videos, you will be notified as well. So please, thank you very much and have a good day.